this message hurts people because I'm telling you that your degree and those certifications and all that stuff that you think is your identity is not. Your identity is so many other dimensions to who you are as a person. And that hurts people because they've spent the last decades putting all the eggs in that basket. So wrapping it in funny is almost necessary. Anything below the waist is off limits in corporate, straight up. Like it's just off limits. Like you can't innuendo, you can't call it something else, you can't whatever, you know, I mean, it's just off. And I mean, all you need is one person to be offended or think it's inappropriate, and then, you know, it's not going to be good. And so you really have to, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's cool. But don't, you know, crap on the comedians that do it well. That doesn't mean that they're not good. You know, maybe bar shows aren't for me. Well, I'm not crapping on the comedians that do bar shows. Like, knock yourself out, man. That's awesome. You know, but like, you know, you just find your lane and do what's comfortable for you and where your people are. You know, when you're in the clubs and you hang out with comedians and you're just fed this mantra of cruise ships and corporate is where comedy goes to die. Like, if you're a hack or you're not very good or you're old and washed up, you go to cruise ships and corporates. That's where it's at. And partially true, but also huge lie, because that's where you go to make a living.
You can't laugh at that.
So what do we come here to talk about again?
We're going to talk about we're going to talk about corporate comedy. We're going to prove that you can laugh at that. Joining us today is John Garrett. John Garrett is a veteran of stand-up comedy. He's a former CPA, and he is a keynote speaker, event MC, author, podcaster, all that stuff. He's got a podcast called What's Your And? He's got a book also called What's Your And? I read that as What's Your Ampersand, because why not? And he's also got an album available where you can get albums. It's called Outside the Box. Thanks for joining us today, John.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I want to dive face first into this. I've seen you as you've been at it for a while. How long? When did you start doing comedy?
Yeah, so my first time on stage was February 1st, 2000. And the only reason I remember that is because it's 210. But that was my first open mic at the Funny Bone in St. Louis. And then, but you know, I had the day job and was just doing it for fun and whatever. But I went full time in May of 2005, full time stand up, and then moved to New York in 2008. And yeah, so a while.
How long did you stick around the New York scene?
Yeah, I was in New York City for almost 9.5 years, and then moved to Denver about 3 years ago. And yeah, now it's more of the corporate speaking, but I bring that experience from being on stage and doing over 2,000 shows to that, and also some of the funny to that as well.
Yeah, I would hope.
So, yeah. You just got to do it for you, and you got to do what you think is funny and what you think is right, and you have to stand up for yourself, because that home club is never going to feature you until you go everywhere else and feature. And then you come back almost a headliner, and then they'll be like, all right, maybe we'll give you a feature week. And it's like, man, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you have to say, I'm not doing that. And, you know, or the booker that does a one-nighter in middle of nowhere. And you're like, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm not driving 6 hours round trip with no hotel for $100. I'm not doing that, you know, but you have to do it in order to say, I'm not now I'm not doing that. So you have to do it. So you're not above it until you do it a couple of times. And then you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm not doing that, you know, because there's stage time, and then there's good stage time. And that's the thing that I think, like, when you're new, it's stage time, just get up there, do stuff. But then you learn really bad habits, and you learn to, like, sometimes the room is just other comedians. So now you're doing jokes that make comedians laugh. Guess who's never going to laugh at that? Paying customers. They're just not. So anyway, Sorry, I just completely dropped all these bombs right out of the gate. I've clearly not talked about this in a while.
It's good to know that stuff, though.
You're just unloading. It's fine.
I'm just trying to let people know, like, that are listening, like, don't feel like you have to do something because someone said so, or you did, or whatever. Like, do your own thing, you know. That's really it. And if you're not doing it for you, then why are you have to be? Because there's no one else that you can be doing this for.
Right. Sometimes, you can smell it out too. Once you've done it long enough, like, you figure out what's right for you, like what's a good fit for you. At first, you're just thinking like, I'll snag any gig. Like, oh, like I'm performing next to an active pool table. Okay, that's fine. Oh, I get a drink ticket. Cool.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Awesome.
Whiskey.
Yeah. But then, like, yeah, right.
Dude, oh my Lord, so many crazy shows where we're
triggering him from NAMM.
Yeah,
right now. I remember I did when I lived in Indianapolis, we set up a fair amount of open mics around, and like at bars or like restaurants, or almost kind of not to the level of New York City, of course, but just fun shows, like 5-6 times a month. And different people rotate through, and we did this one at this bar, and there was a pool table right in front of the stage, and these two guys would not quit playing pool, and so I was hosting it, and I just pretty much shredded them. Like, I don't like cuss a lot, or I'm not intimidating, but I just like undress them in front of everybody. Well, found out after I walked off stage that they're undercover cops that are off-duty cops that were none too pleased with me. And I'm like, dude, you're shooting pool while the show's going on. Not my bad. That's on you. And I have never driven home at the speed limit until that night. Like, it was like 5 miles below. Like, you never. Like, no, but it's just like people comedy is an art form, and people are so rude about it. They don't respect how hard it is, and how much skill and talent it takes to do it. And they take advantage of people that are new or not as good, and then they just like, they go at you, and it's not cool. It's really not. Like Jimmy Brogan, who was Jay Leno's right hand for years, he says, you don't go to the ballet and trip the ballerina. Nobody wants to see that. And nobody wants to see a heckler. That's not part of it. It's just, if people are comedy fans and are listening, don't do that. It's stupid. Like, it's just stupid.
Yeah, you should have showed up at a crime scene where those cops are and poked the corpse.
Right?
How do you like it?
Right? Start heckling them. Boo! Yes. You don't even know how to zip the body bag. You guys suck.
The zipper gets caught.
Right?
Yeah.
No, do you have a paper clip?
Right. Yeah.
Even if it's just like a mundane show at some bar at the lowest level that is possible, it's still like going up there and grabbing the guitar out of the guy's hand and throwing it on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still super rude.
Oh yeah. No, it's disrespectful. Yeah. I mean, that's like my maybe like shopping carts being left in a grocery parking lot. That's like high on my list. But a heckler getting on a newer comedian or somebody that maybe they know they're not good. They know they're new. Like, you don't have to tell them. I mean, it's just like, there's a guy, Phil Hunt, who lives in New York City now. He's really, really funny. And one of his first times on stage in Indianapolis, I happened to be in town. And so I went to the open mic, try out some new stuff. And so Phil went up, and somebody in the audience was just nonstop berating him. And so I was up next, and my stuff's all clean, and I'm not very aggressive. Like, I mean, I'll tear you a new one, but it's like not on purpose. I don't want to do that. Like, I view people's lives suck outside of the comedy club. You're here to laugh and forget that. And if I could be a piece of your life not sucking for a little bit, then that's pretty awesome. Well, when you rip Phil like that, and I barely knew Phil, but like, you don't do that. So I was next, and I took my whole 7 minutes and just unloaded on this guy. Like, all the comedians come in from the bar like, oh my God, what, Garrett's ripping somebody. What is that? Like, I actually told the guy, I did everything you should not do. I was like, dude, you think you're funny here? Okay, why don't you come up here and then I'll give you the mic and then I'm going to sit in the front row. And then, and so then I like, what you do never do, never ever do. So he comes up, I give him the mic, I sit in the front row and he goes, I can be funny about anything. I go, really? I go, what did I say? I said something like, it was like abortion and something else. It was like two, like what? And I think I said like racist abortions or something. And so he couldn't even get in like 2 words. I was like, you suck. You're dead. What? Loser. Like just heckled him just nonstop. And then I just walk out and go, it's not that easy, is it, buddy? Yeah. Why don't you just sit down with your Cosby sweater and shut your mouth? Like, and like, I mean, the comedians were like, what? And Phil, I had forgotten the story until Phil, I saw him in New York and he's like, remember that time? And I was like, oh man, you're right. I'm surprised I didn't get knifed. Like that was crazy. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, you really got to just do it for you and stick up for yourself and just, you know, when you're bombing. So just keep going, do your time, try something out, learn, record it. Don't do that again. You know, it's that easy.
Like you said, you know, these people, their lives suck, you know, and the guy, especially that guy, you know, somebody who's willing to ruin somebody else's night for their own benefit, like it's got to suck doubly. So it's like, how do you put him in his place, but at the same time still make his night not suck like as much as the rest of his life?
Well, I think his life is still sucking because it was brutal.
He's thinking about that right now. He's like rocking back and forth.
It was brutal. I was like, man, it was, he probably is. He's probably got my picture on the wall somewhere with like that Sandler movie with Steve Buscemi's like putting on the lipstick with the gun. Like he got the hit list. Like,
you can't laugh at that.
What's your that it's all about how our personal interests improve our work performance, the workplace culture, and the relationships that we have. Now, I have a habit of making analogies to stand-up comedy. How would you relate like personal interest to improving your game as a writer, as a performer, and improve your relationship with an audience while you're on stage too? So like your passion, your personal interest, how does that
absolutely
have impact on that?
Yeah, because I mean, when I was a CPA as an accountant, you know, my and was doing stand-up. You know, I was an accountant and a comedian. I mean, I do think that you know, when you're a comedian, having real world work experience and real world relationship experience, like real world experience, is super, super important because the audience is living in that world. So, you know, you have to be relatable and you have to do material that they can get. So, you know, if you just do jokes about what it's like to be a comedian, or, I mean, you know, I used to live in New York City and then people would go on the road and be like, yeah, those audiences really, really hard. Well, yeah, they've never been on a subway. Like they've never seen the Brooklyn Bridge. They don't know what you're talking about. And so, you know, having a regular job and doing comedy at night is great because you get a steady paycheck and benefits and normal things. But it also gives you things that relate to the audience because those people are living in that world. And you have to do material that at least starts in their world. And then you can take them on that journey to your crazy land, but you have to start where they're at. And I mean, I think, especially for the most part, I mean, there's some random one-offs of, you know, famous comedians that we've all heard of that have done that well, but for the most part, it's being relatable. And so I really do think that having that job, whether it's, you know, as a temp or, you know, an office kind of job or some sort of job that a lot of people have, then you're going to relate to that audience a lot easier.
When you made the transition into speaking full time, was that just an outcome of the whole, like the comedy club culture where it's like, we're taking advantage of you from a booker's perspective, you know, we're taking advantage of you and you do what we say? Was that kind of what prompted that shift into the corporate world? Like what made you make that decision
to do like the corporate comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like, I mean, one huge benefit of having a job is also you get supplies for free. So like notepads and pens, like, so like I'm a huge fan of that. But I think the statute of limitations have passed by now. But you know, as far as doing corporate shows, for me, it was somebody saw me at a comedy club and they were like, hey, like you do, because I would do a couple of jokes about being an accountant. And then and they were like, oh, you relate to us and you're clean, like you should come do our Christmas party or whatever. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. And you know, at the time I'm, you know, emceeing or featuring for, I don't know, 50 or $100 a show, and they're going to give me 500. Yes, I will do that. Absolutely. You know, like that's a no-brainer. Like that's crazy. And so that's really how it started. And then I actually, you know, when you're in the clubs and you hang out with comedians and you're just fed this mantra of cruise ships and corporate is where comedy goes to die. Like if you're a hack or you're not very good or you're old and washed up, you go to cruise ships and corporates. That's where it's at. And partially true, but also huge lie, because that's where you go to make a living. And so like for me, those were my people. I mean, I came from that world. And so I was able to go back into that world and provide, you know, funny and engaging and customize for them. And doing corporate shows is totally different than doing comedy clubs. I mean, for so many reasons. But that's how I got started in it, and then just appreciated it. The audiences appreciated it more. You know, at comedy clubs after, people are like, hey, you know, you didn't suck. And at corporates, they're like, oh my God, you were amazing. Like, this was, thank God you were here. Like, you saved the whole meeting. And so, yeah, it's a bigger paycheck and they like me. Like, yeah, I'll do this more. And then I had a couple of pretty big near misses in New York that it would be cool to have been as part of my intro, but they didn't happen, so they're not. And so, and then that's when I realized, you know, like I don't really control my own destiny in this, and I'm sick of a lot of that. And so I kind of went more towards marrying the two together of my accounting life and my comedy life, and that's how now it's more like speaking than it is like pure entertainment, for sure. But you know, doing the pure entertainment is still great. It's just very different, for sure.
Getting that public speaking experience is very valuable. I mean, just from comedy, you could take that and that's lucrative in itself, you know. It's like, that's pretty interesting.
Totally. I mean, like, you know, keynoting a conference now, I don't even blink. Like, I mean, I've seen some stuff. So whatever you conference room of white collar nerds are going to throw at me, I'm not even blinking. Like it's like what I've seen the devil and, you know, or whatever. It's like, yeah, I have. And I'm not scared of whatever, you know. I'll hear so many times, well, our audience is really tight. Like they're really okay. 2 minutes in, boom. All right. You know, like, I mean, you just pop them and then they're great. They're amazing. They're super good people, you know. Just you know what you're doing because you've done it so many times. And that's when I opened for Louis Anderson in a lot of resort casinos, and like the Borgata in Atlantic City and some big ones. And he was like, you know, the difference between a new comedian and a very experienced comedian is the new comedian has told the joke 10 times and the experienced comedian has told it 10,000 times. And so when you're new, you're almost asking the audience to laugh. At the end of the joke, you're kind of like, please laugh now. And when you've told it 10,000, yeah, right?
Please clap.
Yeah. And at 10,000 times, you're like, look, when I stop talking, you laugh. This is how this works because I'm hilarious. These jokes are good, and laugh, you know? And so it's literally just something that comes with confidence and all that. And those reps on stage certainly pay dividends in other parts of your life. That's for sure.
What helps me with confidence is just like accumulating. My set is accumulation of every joke that works by far the most. Like, it's just like as much punch as possible. I don't really put filler in. It will die, even if it's like if it gets laughed 70% of the time, that may not be good enough, and I'll keep it, but like I'll put it in the pen for a little bit. Like, you're in timeout, like that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I like to mix it up too, I mean, especially, when I was doing, 50 weeks a year, all over, like just you have players that are on the bench and hey, you know what? Why don't you get in today? That'll be fun. And plus it was fun for me to like have to remember a slightly different set. So then it sounded fresh to the audience. I feel like the tone was there. It was kind of fun. It was like, hey, let's do this one and then see where this goes. Or even like I have jokes where there's like the joke and then, oh, you guys got that one? You just unlocked bonus level 2, 3. Or like, but if you didn't get this one, not only do you not get those bonus levels, but you also get not the next joke or the next, like you fast forwarded to Stupidville. So like, I need to like, we're going to the McRib joke because everyone will get that one. And it's still something I'm proud of, but it's, you know what? I'm not going to put you through this.
Fine, we'll do the fart jokes.
Well, that's the thing is like I was so stubborn to like, I really didn't do many stuff like that, or I mean, I could tell audiences were like, when's he going to talk about midgets? And I'm not like, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do the drunk walk through the drive-through story that like every other comedian's done. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, and I really prided myself on, if you don't write it, then don't say it. Like, it's that simple. It really is. Like, don't, I mean, you can watch other comedy, you can learn from other comedy, choices that are made. But if somebody tells a joke about a Chevy and you change it to a Ford, that's not your joke. Like, you stole that, and that's not cool. And, you could study the structure of the joke and how it's built and how it's written, and then, write your own joke. But you can't do that. And that's the thing about the speaking world that makes me very frustrated, is that there's a lot of gray area of people showing quotes of someone else. And, I can't get up and do a Brian Regan bit. Well, like Brian Regan said, and it's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a cop out. That's so sneaky.
It makes me angry. It makes me angry because every time I see that in the speaking world, I'm like, is that lady sick? Why is she not here doing that quote? Yeah. We could hear it in her voice. Like, that'd be neat.
Yeah, Maya Angelou once said, well, why isn't she here? She wasn't in the budget. Also,
was she dead or something? Yeah. Oh, yeah, my bad. Like, you can't laugh at that. Okay.
Well, we put dividers when stuff like that happens. We'll just use your clip.
Right? No, but it is. And I do think that in the corporate, I mean, if anyone listening is going to try and do a corporate or has a corporate coming up or in the future, like at a comedy club, they're there to see you. Whether they know that you're on the show or not, they're probably there to see the headliner, but you're part of the show. So they're there to see you. So you talk about you, and that's great. But in the corporate, they're there because they have to be there. They didn't have a choice. Like, this isn't their fun night out. This is, my company's doing this. And if I don't come, I'm going to get fired. So I have to be here. And this is how this works. And so you keep that in mind and be of service to them, as opposed to them being of service to feeding your ego. And work on customizing, like do some things about the company or about the executives that are there, like in a clean, funny, respectful way. And those jokes will get a 10 out of 10, even though they're not even that funny. They'll be like, you're like, maybe this is a 5, and it blows the roof off. And then your closing bit, they're like, oh, all right, that was good. And you're like, no, like, and so you just have to understand that like it's almost like a bizarro world where everything's inverse of the comedy club, mentality.
Yeah, it's weird. I did a corporate gig. It was a 20th anniversary for a company, and the CEO was like in his 70s. So I was like, I thought this was a 20th birthday party. You look terrible for 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I wasn't happy about it either, but everybody there was. So then like by proxy I was. So it was like, oh, I guess.
That's what I'm talking about. That was the best joke of the night. That's the one that they remembered 6 months later.
Right. And they didn't want to hear anything about milk. They were like, talk about our boss again.
Right. That's exactly what it is, man. It's totally different but it's good pay because it's not easy and it takes some work,
what is it that gets them invested? You know, when you get there and they're like, oh, we got a tough crowd for you. Like, you know, do you just start by addressing the elephant in the room, start by addressing the CEO or whatever?
Well, I mean, it's no different than a comedy club where like a late show Friday. I mean, those are brutal. I mean, they went to happy hour after they worked all week. They're exhausted. They went to happy hour because that's smart. And then they came to a comedy club after they like were drunk and rebounded. And so they're just like, they're exhausted. They're tired. They're half, you know, drunk. It's like, and so, you know, it's no different than a Friday Night Late Show where you just got to grab them. You just got to like grab them by the throat and be like, okay, we're over here now. And this is how this is going to work. And, you know, I always went up with like my tried and true stuff, like for the first minute or two of just like, boom. And then it's, you know, so, hey, you guys are pretty cool people. Like I looked you guys up, did a little bit of homework, and then, you know, weave in some of the customized stuff somewhat early on, but you definitely got to grab them up front. You can't do the customized stuff because you're not going to be as confident in it. You know, just like your 20th birthday, you look terrible for 20, which is a great joke, by the way. But like, you're not as confident in that as you are in how you normally start the last, you know, 100 shows that you've done. So you might as well, you know, at least, you know, get a single out of the gate before you know, go for anything bigger.
Right. Yeah. You can't just kick them in the face. It's like, because it's a more professional setting, it's you have to create that paradigm shift. It's like, okay, you were just watching like people talk about new policies and legal updates and all this stuff. Now it's time for the fun. So like you can't just dive, you know, into the deep end. And
sit in as much of the meeting as they'll let you sit in and call back to that stuff. Well, I was going to do the policy update, but Carl came up and did it. So way to steal my thunder, man. And, you know, or whatever, you know, just some sort of in the clubs, you watch the other comedians that are right before you, and then you do a callback to something that was right before you or whatever, you know, when you're doing like a showcase type of, you know, when there's, you know, 10 of you on a show, it's like, well, they've seen a lot. So you need to let them get into your world a little bit at first. And if you would get a heckler in corporate, you cannot go at them. You just can't. It's just, you can't. You can't. I learned that the hard way. You just can't. And you just
that's busy from HR. Like
right.
Yeah. So don't talk to her like that. Right. And then they all start to turn. They're like, we're on her side because I know her from President's Club.
It's everyone hates that person anyway, but it's weird now. And you know, and so it's just I mean, you can like gently like, you know, jab them, you know, like you do like a little kid, like little, like, you know, but you can't even get a good body shot in because it's too much.
Yeah, you can't do it. You do this.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah.
Right.
Who was it?
Who was it? Like, God, are you there? Like, this is the Lord. Yeah, no, it's just different, but you got to do some homework up front. You got to show that, you know, you're there for them and it's only for them. And, you know, and then, just be confident and do some of your customized stuff about them. So, yeah.
In stand-up, you go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to say, I think the closest thing to a corporate gig I did was a casino. Because ever since then, I've been doing different types of venues. Like just the only other thing besides like showcases and open mics is just like random club things.
Sure.
But like, so I was only a year and a half in, and I did the Roxino in like about an hour from here. And all I did up front was like topical sports jokes, like 2 of them. I made them up on the spot and they laughed. And that was the end of the laughter for that 10 minutes.
Casinos are a different animal as well. Like, I mean, it's bars are a different animal, you know, a comedy club comedy clubs in a different city, you know, like you're just like, what is going on right now? And you're like when I moved to New York, nobody knows what an Arby's is. Nobody knows what college football or marching bands are because it's all pro sports. Nobody cooks, so my crock pot bit dead in the water. Half the audience is from Norway or I don't know where, and I'm out of fjord jokes. So like, I mean, it's like it's a different world, and so it made me write a lot of stuff that would be more relatable to those people. And it's hard, but you go up, you learn, you take it on the chin, and you're like, yeah, I need a couple of different jokes, or I just don't do casinos anymore. Like, there's that.
The speaking world is different from comedy, because in comedy, if you have new material, you go to an open mic and you work on it in front of a live audience. So you have to work on it in front of a live audience. And, I think the same thing goes for being a speaker. I place a lot of value in speaking at like chambers of commerce or like regional association chapters. For that reason, I kind of look at them as like, okay, I'm going to work in some new material. Because if you're going to pay me thousands of dollars, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to try this joke. So how do you work new material into your presentation? And like, how often do you try to work new material?
I mean, or you just bookend it with really good stuff like I would do in the comedy clubs. So it's like, all right, if I lose you totally to 0 on this next joke will get you back to at least a 7. So, I mean, then I'm not scared, because then it's like, all right, here we go. And in the corporate world, for the comedy, I mean, their expectation is so low that, the fact that you're good is like, this guy's killing it. It's amazing, and so, but they also know like when you're actually really good. So, their expectations coming in, we're like, oh, well, whatever. But then once you're up there and they're like, oh, wow, this is like a real comedian that knows what they're doing, then I do think that their standards also raise. But you just do the clubs, and it's like, well, I'll throw one in there and just try a new one and see. I mean, why not? And when it comes to the speaking stuff, they're not even expecting it to be necessarily funny anyway. So, you can weave in humor into it, or, you're just good at telling a story. Unlike the one I'm doing right now. But normally, so, you can throw it in there like that. So, I mean, I just bookend it with really good, and then my new stuff, and then another really good thing right after, and then we're right back on course. So
that's a good strategy.
That's what I do anyway. Once you get confident enough in like your misses aren't so far off. Like, I mean, that's what I learned in New York too, when, Seinfeld or Chris Rock or Gaffigan or, Louis C.K., they just drop in Chappelle, like, and you see them do stuff that's not funny. And you're like, oh my God, like everything they do is not, but their miss is like the 25 point of the bullseye, like they're still close. And so like when you're more experienced, your miss is in that inner ring, where, when you're new, the miss is like on the wall, like you didn't hit the dartboard. And so, you just, as you do it more and you get more experience and you learn more and you study the craft more, then you get closer to that. So your misses aren't really that far off. So, people will still laugh, or if they don't, just go on to the next one. Like you don't have to call out every joke that doesn't meet your expectation, because then they're going to be like, wait, I thought he was hilarious. Now he's telling me that he sucks. Like what? And, and to them, that's the frustrating thing too, is an audience doesn't have like another audience next to them to know, oh, we kind of suck. We need to like raise our game here. Some audiences, they're giving you a 5 and that is their max. Like we're not going to 10. Like we just can't. This is our laughing our ass off right now.
They almost don't want to have fun. Yeah,
exactly. Almost. But it's like, that's them like dying laughing. Like, I mean, I've had people come up after a show and be like, like for some reason, like you have the whole audience laughing, but there's one person up front, just not at all. Like, and then they come up after, I think you're the funniest comedian I've ever seen. Like, can you tell your face? Because what is going on right now? Yeah. Like what? Are you punking me? Like you didn't even like blink. Like what? Yeah. But maybe they're studying you, and so it's hard to know. It's like the difference between a joke helper, like somebody that's a fan, that they're like loving your bit so much that they're just like, ah, versus the heckler that is mean-spirited and wants to tribute. And you learn after you've punched a joke helper in the face, my bad. Like now I need to know which is which. And somebody that is a super fan that's loving everything I'm saying, that just couldn't help but just jump in. Don't punch them, like, because they're all about you. And so you have to learn that, but you only learn that in live fire, like while you're on stage, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that you just learn from doing or watching. And that's another thing. The more shows that you can just go sit in the back of the room and watch. You just, I mean, in New York, it was so great because you could just go to the club and just sit in the back and just watch for 3 hours. And then you get on stage for your 10 and then you go back and yeah, it's just, you know, wow, I would not have made that choice. Let's see how you get out of this one. Or, you know, and or things like that, or, you know, you just learn so much of just what choices people make on stage and how to do it and how they did it and how they got banned. Like, you know, don't do that. No, I just, just see what I did. No, but it is a craft and you can't be lazy at it. You have to learn and you have to work it, and it's a job. It very much is. It's work. And especially the business side of it. I mean, the booking and like, you know, David was talking about, you know, reaching out and getting in touch with bookers, doing showcases, like driving to Columbus to do a showcase at the Funny Bone. And then Stroop doesn't show up and you're like, are you joking right now? And then driving home because you don't want to pay for a hotel or whatever, you know, like it's just, it's hard, you know, it's you gotta like, you just gotta like do it for you and love it. And then, you know, good things happen.
You gotta try to, when stuff like that happens, you have to look at it as though like the one that you can't let get away. Like, you know, there's all that always that one person in our life. It's usually the first person we fall in love with, where it's like, no, but we were meant to be together forever. I will show up at your work with flowers.
Right?
Like I'm leaving notes on your car because I love you. We're meant to be together, and I'm 19. Like that's, you know, like that's the way you got to look at it. Because like it's gonna kick you in the teeth and it's gonna make you feel like shit. But at the same time, like that's the best part, because when it makes you feel good, it's like you don't appreciate nice weather without the snow, you know?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And it's not a new thing either. It's been happening since comedy clubs started in the 70s.
Too soon.
How did you, like, when you first started doing those gigs, like obviously there were bombs in there. Are there any that really stand out? Like where you crossed the line and they were like, hey man.
Okay. So I learned that real estate agents do not have a sense of humor. So if you, I was doing a real estate and it was funny because like people wanted me to do like an hour. And I'm like, I do not have an hour. Like I don't. So I would do stand up for a little bit and then I would do kind of like a Family Feud game. So it was a little bit of both, but it was interactive. It was their people, you know, customized answers for them, not fully, but like a little bit, but it was a combo because not everybody likes stand up. Not everybody likes to be talked at for an extended period of time. I get it. But if we bring up your people or, you know, the tax team versus the audit team or whatever, then it's funny. It's your people are up there and we just make organized chaos. Well, when it comes to real estate agents, if you do a joke about how their picture is from a 1990s glamour shots because they're 70 years old right now and you don't look like your picture that's on the bus stop bench, no one will laugh at you after that, period. Like they will just not. And even though it's 100% true, they will not laugh. And so I learned that one. And I also learned that like home builders, like the guys hammering the nails in the 2x4s, not my people. They're great people and they're really nice and they're good people and they work hard, but that's not my audience. And so that's the thing is like when it comes to corporate, it's not a comedy club where, well, I can do jokes for everybody. No, you really can't. You can't, because no one can do jokes for bachelorette parties. So there's that to begin with. But after that, like, you know, but it's just knowing your audience. And also people don't necessarily buy comedy they're buying the outcome of what the comedy gets them. So, maybe it's after dinner entertainment, or we're celebrating something. So really when you approach them, it's not, hey, you want to buy comedy? Like, no one's really,
that was built into their thing, and it's not like they went and said, hey, we need comedy in this. That was part of the package deal by the people who put it together. And
possibly, yeah. Or somebody's like, well, we've got $500 left over. Why don't we? I mean, it's like, well, why don't you go get a clown or a juggler or a comedian? Yeah. I mean, it's literally that. And then they reach out to you. How much do you cost? Well, what do you want? I'm not. This isn't coffee, or like, I'm not a vendor. I'm actually. And so, the more that you can meet them business to business, you're a business person. Like, you're also the product, but you're a business person. And so, like, the more that you can come at them as like, I'm a business, and that's the thing that I just feel like even clubs, they just don't. It's so funny. Like, when I stopped doing the clubs, probably about a year later, I had a good friend of mine that he's like, hey, this comedy club just canceled me like a week and a half out from and I bought a plane ticket and everything. Like, I can't cancel this. And then they want to push me, or no, they canceled me 4 weeks out, and they want to push me to a week and a half out. And I bought my plane ticket for 4 weeks out, and now I'm going to have to buy a plane ticket that's short notice. So it's going to be extra expensive, and cancel the other one and not get my money back. And I was like, how disrespectful is that? And he's like, what? Like, it didn't even dawn on him that's straight disrespect. Like, you spent money to come do our show, and then now I'm asking you to eat it and spend more money, and you should be happy that I'm giving you this week. Like, what? Like, no, like, that's crazy. It's like, but we take it on the chin and be like, thank you very much. Can I have another?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what? And so, in the corporate, it's, meet them where they're at and be like, what do you really want? Like, what is going on here? Is this that you had an extra $300 or $500 and you're just like, well, go spend it on something? Or do you actually want me to do something here? And something that's really easy to add on as a comedian is MC. Because I'm sure that as a new comedian, you've done MC and hosted a lot of shows. So these people do not know how to host things well. They do not. And it's awkward, and it's painful, and it's terrible. And so, like, for me, I would always, say, let's say you're like $750, and that includes me hosting. Just lump it all in the basket. Don't say it's $500 and then another $250 if you want me to host. No, it's $750, and all I have is this, and you get me for that time. And if you want to use me to host, I can do that, or not. It's still $750, and that way, then you're selling that thing. And and you can co-host if somebody's got an ego. I'm happy to co-host. Great, but help, and then just explaining to them, because they need the education. They don't know. And a comedy club, they need 52 weeks of comedians. Just come in, talk while we sell drinks. A corporate, they do this once every 5 or 10 years, because there's the lady in the red dress that, whatever, like, just, what do you mean penis isn't clean? It's like, no, you can't. Like, it's anything below the waist is off limits in corporate, straight up. Like, it's just off limits. Like, you can't innuendo, you can't call it something else, you can't whatever. I mean, it's just off. And I mean, all you need is one person to be offended or think it's inappropriate, and then it's not going to be good. And so you really have to, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's cool. But don't crap on the comedians that do it well. That doesn't mean that they're not good. Maybe bar shows aren't for me. Well, I'm not crapping on the comedians that do bar shows. Like, knock yourself out, man. That's awesome. But like, you just find your lane and do what's comfortable for you and where your people are.
There's something for everybody. It's a broad enough field where you can get really good at hosting, and that's your thing, and you can get the cruise ship gigs, and that's your thing.
No, for sure. And I mean, I never really did cruises, so I can't really speak to that, but you can make a living, that's for sure. And there's that fine line between stay true to yourself and do what you are and what you think's funny, but you can do that and still make a living. And it might be a hybrid of the comedy clubs and cruises on occasion and some corporate sprinkled in. And, that's not a bad thing. If you, and I was just lazy or efficient. I don't know what the word is for it, but all my jokes were, if I got radio or I got a TV spot, like it's the same joke. Like, it's not like I'm at a comedy club and I say the F-bomb in the joke 200 times. Well, guess what? When you're on Letterman, you're going to say the F-bomb because you're so used to saying it in the pattern of the joke. And so I was just like, look, if I ever get these opportunities, I want to be ready and I want to just nail it. And so I just wrote that way. Plus, like, I can't sell from stage that hardcore language. It's like when a little kid cusses, it's more adorable than it is impactful. So, if I tell a bachelorette party, like, shut the F up, like, they're more like, say it again. Like, that was cute. Like, they come up and like pinch your cheek and like, and it's like, no, I'm angry.
Fuck.
It's not the,
right.
It's not the intent. When Steve does it, it's natural, but
right. It's like, I'm kind of worried about him. He hasn't said it this whole time.
Yeah.
I used to be worried about the level of cursing I did, but when I actually monitored myself more, I was like, I really don't curse. The only thing that probably keeps me from ever doing corporate or things that are a little bit cleaner is just or I should not say clean, but stuff that isn't, I'm always touching on controversy. And it's never edgy. I wouldn't call it edgy. It's always about what's funniest. That's where my brain goes.
Sure.
So
no, totally.
Yeah, but it's
and then maybe it's not for you, and that's fine.
It really isn't.
No big deal. Like, and that's
I admire
all good.
it. I really
but
do.
It's just different, I mean, every venue certainly has a feel to it, and after you do enough of them, you're like, all right, this is what a casino's like, or all right, this is what a comedy club's like, this is what a bar's like, this is what a bowling alley's like, this is what a VFW's like, this is like what a firehouse is like, or whatever. And so you just know, and then you know what you're going into, and you bring it, or you write some stuff about that you pull out for that kind of venue, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. Cool, don't do them anymore. Right. It's just it does frustrate me when other comedians, they kind of look down on comedians that do it a different way, and it's like, well, they're actually like making a living, like they're actually filing taxes for real, because they make enough to where their business expenses didn't eat up all of their income.
Right.
Right.
I remember when I was new, it was like all the mileage, my cell phone, internet, like food, like all of this is like, I made $0 in the government's eyes, because I mean, that mileage is crazy. I mean, when you're driving a Honda Civic everywhere, so, it adds up, and all of a sudden it's like, well, but I'm living, like, I'm not like broke, but I mean, but then you start doing some of these other ones, and it's like, oh, wow, like I have a savings account now. Like, this is neat. Like, and so, it's just figuring out like what it is, and what you want to do, and how you want to live. But it is certainly a way, but hosting is a super easy thing that I'm sure Steve, you've hosted plenty of shows, and you could put on a suit and a smile for a couple hours and make.
I don't know about the suit or the smile, but
all right.
I was waiting for David to laugh. I was waiting for David to laugh. I was embellishing, but it's still somewhat true.
We'll start with underwear and socks. You can put on underwear and socks for once, and then like.
Yeah.
But and if somebody's going to give you a couple $1,000, I'll host this.
You can't laugh at that.
You Can't Laugh at That is brought to you by Water Cooler Comedy. Now, for too long, we've been asking the question, should work be focused on work or fun? But Mark Twain once said that work and play are two words used to describe the same thing under different circumstances. So my point is that we're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, should work be work or fun, the question should be, how can we make work fun? Whether it's a keynote speech, a half-day workshop, a 90-day consulting program, a customized corporate comedy experience for you and your team as you try to figure out how to reboard, how to get back to work after working virtually for a year. Why humor in the workplace? Well, studies have shown that humor builds resilience. It allows us to adapt to problems more quickly, more creatively, and more It allows us to adapt to problems more quickly, more creatively, and more I can't say collaboratively. It allows us to adapt to not being able to say collaboratively correctly. Because not only does laughter make us feel better, it makes us work better too. So why not make work the time and place to laugh? Check out watercoolercomedy.org.
I could do corporate stuff, but I would have to deliberately write through a flow chart of, is it negative? Is it cynical? Is it too critical? Is it too, and it would always just like, and I would have to get my brain thinking different, because I can write humor. I understand humor on a universal level. I mean, not to sound, but it's like, if you can write one kind of joke, you can, you understand it. And I would just have to switch my mode of thinking and writing. I wouldn't say it was harder. I'd say it's a little bit easier, but only because it's a little bit more broad and more, it's one of those things where it's like for instance, Jim Gaffigan and Brian Regan say they're like the most famous clean comedians. I would, well, depending on what you
probably
consider
right now.
clean.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, exactly. But like I think they're like just astronomically funny. But it's like it's the stuff that I try to avoid, because I think it's too safe to talk. I love the tension you can build from an unsafe topic, but not go obviously where like a lot of
like a Tosh almost.
Yeah,
like something
where obviously humor is most important. It's not like I'm trying to be edgy. It's just stuff that might be a little bit more. That's where you get your tension to release with the laugh.
You're not being Sarah Silverman where you're just trying to shock people. Like you're being Daniel Tosh, where it's like, okay, it's edgy, but it's funny, and it's like, I can't believe you said that, but I'm also laughing, and this is amazing. Or like Ryan Stout's really great at that as well. Ryan Stout does some good stuff. He's younger ish, but yeah, I mean, and you have to be true to yourself, man. Like, I mean, writing these other jokes, if you're like, I'm not doing that. And I feel like a lot of people get into comedy because they want to just go up and say whatever I want to say, and just, and be able to shock people or offend people, or, yeah, I did make you cry and good for you and whatever. And like, or, I'm being facetious, but like something along those lines. But, at the end of the day, you have to pay the rent. And you have to get food, and so, but you have to be true to yourself. And so like what's commercially viable and what you can sell for $100 a show is whatever you want to talk about. That's great. But if you want to make 5 or 10 or 20x that per show, then you either have to tweak or just be okay with not, which is also fine. I was just, it was more natural for me because I was from that world, and my act was already, like I had a bit about a crockpot is like a microwave with a learning disability, because they get the job done. It just takes them a whole lot longer, and there's more to it. But like, that's something that it's funny, and it's funnier than it is edgy. So therefore in the corporate, especially in the middle, after you've gotten to know me, that's fine. Like you can't say words like, rape or abortion or incest, or like, those are like, you can't do that. I mean, because if you worked at the company and you said those words, you would be in HR, Like, so, and so it's just one of those things where you just have to stay true to yourself, and it's not for you. It's not for you. That's cool, man.
Right. My end game has always just been only like, just hopefully, some tying in the synergy of that in like my film career, where you have like, I want to like be a writer or something, I work in film in other capacities too, but it's just one of those things where like, I'm doing stand-up isn't like my end goal per se. So it's like, you just always trying to, and I've met so many people through it. It's great. So
No, that's great. Yeah. And having done stand-up, you know how to write better. Because there's so many like TV and movie writers where it's like, have you ever told a joke in front of a live audience before? Because I'm guessing no, because these are terrible.
Right.
And
very easy jokes.
Yeah. Or they're just not even funny. It's like, oh my Lord. And so, but when you can write better and tighter, and it actually packs a punch, and it's a lot funnier, for sure. So yeah, I mean, and that's the end, is use comedy for, like, don't let them use you, don't let comedy use you. You have to always keep that upper hand. And it is a daily, almost hourly struggle to keep that upper hand. Because man, it is hard. And kudos to everyone who's listening, who's done it even one time, because you have way more guts than anyone else that's come to a show, for sure.
It's like you said, like, it tightens up your writing. One of the most important things that I've learned is brevity, is cutting and cutting and cutting until you're just down to the bare bones. Like when I used to write sketch, there was so much exposition, and there was so much like, just unnecessary stuff. Like I did a bit, when I started speaking, I did characters because I came from a sketch background.
Yeah.
Before I started doing stand-up. And in hindsight, like I was coming down the stairs earlier and I thought, like, what are we going to talk about today? Like, do I want to talk about my start in corporate and how bad it was? Because like I did a character who had a book called Procrastination Prevents Progress. And so for 5 minutes, I would like tease a book giveaway, but there's no books, like there's no slideshow, like there's no, but it was way too long. Like that's a good minute, 30-second to 2-minute tops bit, but to stretch that out for 5 minutes, it's like the audience is 3 steps ahead of you, man.
Right. Or it's one of those where almost like Gaffigan, where, the Hot Pockets, where like the first 2 times it's funny and then it'll dip and then it becomes hilarious again, maybe even more so, but you really got to commit and you really got to ride it through that valley, because it can come out on the other side like lights out, but you gotta really be confident in it. But and that takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, we're talking Jim Gaffigan. I mean, Jim Gaffigan is over the last 20 years is one of the greats. So I wouldn't say I'm on the Gaffigan level of, of writing. I'm a little bit below.
Fun fact about Gaffigan, though, when you were talking about Brian Regan. So when Regan moved to New York, Gaffigan was already there, and Gaffigan was dirty. He was not clean at all. And Brian Regan showed Gaffigan that you can be clean and really funny, and that there's a little bit of a greater upside to that. And so that's when Gaffigan became more of what he is now, what you see today. But when he was much younger, he was definitely not clean, for sure. But I mean, it's just, but I would love to know, like, your first corporate. So that was it. You did that character, and then you had to go after that. Like you had to. Follow, I would like yourself.
So I would have like slides that would cycle through as I got into character, that they could like watch, and there were little like jokes and stuff on there. And I would come in like all untucked and like I'm not, so like I tried to book a hotel and I'm not, so if you want me to sign copies of my book, you find me in a Ford Escort outside, like just, and then I did other characters too, like the one that, this is when I was writing, like trying to be funny, painful. And this is when I realized that you can't do below the belt stuff in corporate. But I did a character who is, every character had a message attached to them. And the message for this character was personal accountability. And he was a former NYPD detective by the name of Dick Ransom, who would trace all of the evidence of every case he was assigned back to himself.
That's awesome.
And he'd end up like turning in his gun in his badge at the end. And it's like, the message is, wherever you are as a result of all the decisions that you've made. So he would look at the crime and be like, I did this. Like he would somehow find a loose end. Anyway, long story short, the closing message, I would say, if you hear yourself saying that this is somebody else's fault, remember that you have a little dick inside of you. and I got an email not 24 hours after I got off stage, one of the because I had done it a few times and got some laughs, but back then, you know, I was like, you know, I'm coming from New York. I had a show in the New York Comedy Festival. I know what I'm doing. I can't be wrong. And I got this email, and it was from a guy who had actually booked me to speak at an upcoming conference. He was like, yeah, we're not gonna go through with that. We had eight people from our group at this conference, and we were all wildly offended by your presentation. You used the word prick, and I wanted to be like, I didn't say prick, I said dick, and it was his name. And then
speaking of being a prick, how about you, man? No,
dude, I was and I was pissed about it for a little bit, but then it was one of those things where it was like, take the message that you're trying to deliver with the character. You did this. You figure it out, and it took a few months, but since then I don't do characters anymore because it's not authentic. I learned my lesson of trying to be funny. I learned my lesson of having an ego about like the things that I've done before. If you're not funny right now, nobody cares what you did yesterday or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Nobody cares where you performed.
Right. They don't care about your credits.
Right.
Like everything that you would tell a comedy club booker is the exact opposite thing that you tell someone that's looking for corporate.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, I've done some things, but they want to know what corporate shows have you done? Like what other, you know, things corporate have you done?
Yeah.
You know, that way. And if you do one and it goes well and you don't say dick, then
let me write that down.
Get a note to self. Then get a reference letter. Get a quick. Now there's the phones. Just get a quick testimonial video from the person that booked you. Like, you know, hey, if they're like, man, this was really great. Thank you so much. Hey, it'd be super helpful if you could can I just get you on my phone just saying that so I can, you know, have it as a video for other people that are considering me to come in. And 99% of the time they're like, yeah, totally. Of course, you know, or get it. An email or a letter or whatever. I mean, now that short video is the best. Just create a short little YouTube video of 4 or 5 of those. And then people are like, all right, I feel comfortable bringing in somebody that's not gonna like, so I did one down in Florida for this bank, and it was pretty big. It was a bank and like their big commercial clients and so business owners and stuff. And so it was the comedy plus the game show. So Family Feud, it was like one team thought they were going to play, so they all stood up, and then I was like, actually, no, I'm going to have them. Oh no, wait! And then so they were up, down, and back up, and I was just like, hey, it's almost like we're in church. Well, I get an email from a woman that says that she was offended and that I'm anti-Catholic and that whatever, and I'm like, I went to Notre Dame, lady. Like, what are you talking about right now? I am not. But I reached out right away. I called the lady from the bank that had brought me in. And she's like, who was the email from? And I forwarded it to her. And she's like, oh, that lady's crazy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so, because I knew, like, they can tell if you're doing it from a place of good, or are you doing it, like, what's your intent here? And I think that most audiences, especially sophisticated audiences, know that, like, I don't mean ill will. Like, I'm not here to piss everybody off and get banned from a casino like Steve. Like, I'm here to like just make your life not suck for the 30 minutes I'm up here or whatever. You know, and so but that Florida show, I forgot all about that lady. That was hilarious.
Those stick out. I had one of those recently where a woman commented in the Zoom, like she had a chat, she was like, that cartoon that you showed was very offensive. The language in it said damn in the cartoon. And I've been doing that just inconsequentially for 2 years. Nobody said a word. And so when I was going through, like, reading the questions for the Q&A, I read that and I was like, that wasn't the intent. I apologize if it offended you, but, you know, the intent was to make people laugh. And then people were commenting, no, it was funny. It was funny. And then I reached out to the meeting planner too. And I said, you know, I apologize if I offended anybody. And she was like, oh, don't worry. She does that.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you say to that person? What the hell? Like, what the hell are you complaining about damn for? Because then it'll be like, what? Yeah. But, you know, and everyone's got their line and you know, but it's like you said, as long as the intent isn't there, and you know, you're good to go. So
what was the hardest part of the transition from stand-up to corporate? you think?
Well, I mean, to the speaking, like, so I went from, doing clubs to kind of doing corporates on occasion, especially around Christmas, holiday time. And then, or even like tax into busy season. That was always big for me, just accounting firms and stuff. Yeah. So you would sprinkle them in, but then I was mostly hosting, because I didn't really feel like comedy clubs are great at just beating you down to be like, you're not unique. If somebody's trying to book a show and they're like, hey, David, will you do it for $100? And you're like, no, I'm not. Well, John will do it. John, you want to do it? No, Steve, you do it. They're like, I actually know a pretty well-known booking agency that was known for having a one-nighter that was going to pay the agency $200, let's say, and they would call each of us to see who would do it for less. And then they would go back to you and be like, sorry, they pulled out. They already had somebody. And you're like, for $25? Really? That's really how you're going to play this? Yeah. You don't think we talk? Like, you freaking or idiots. Yeah. And so for me, it was just the hardest part for me. And it is knowing that what I do adds value. What I do is unique. What I do is good. What I do is valued by others. And that, I'm worth it. When you do the clubs it was 10 years full time, or more, really, probably, 10 or 12 years full time. And, you just get beat down so much that you're like, I'm not different. I'm just another white guy that talks into a microphone while you sell drinks. All right. And then when you get out of that, you just learn the disrespect and the abuse and the mental stuff that you've put up with. And you're like, wow, like this is not healthy. So you really got to have a group of friends that are outside of comedy that you hang out with that are normal and have like real lives, so you can tap into them for material, but you can also have some sanity there. Cause like we're all in the crazy train, and without a benchmark to say, hey guys, you know what? That's actually not normal. Then we're all going off the cliff, And so you have to have friends that care about you and that, call you out. If it's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, you got to get a hold of yourself, or like just in life or whatever. And it's easy to chase this never ending fame or whatever it is that you think you're chasing. And, but do it for you, and do it for as long as it makes you happy. Even if you suck, who cares? Like, just, it brings you joy and you enjoy doing comedy, then do it, but also be real. And your expectation, it's like people that golf and they don't practice. They don't even try. They don't watch their swing. And then they get mad at how bad they are. It's like, dude, you're not even trying. So if you're not trying to learn comedy or trying to learn the craft or trying to get better or writing, on a regular basis, then shut up about where you are in comedy and how it's everyone else's fault that you're not successful. It's you, it's your fault. And, you find your place, find your audience, get out there, do it, be like, you know what, that's not my place. I'm not doing that again. All right. You learned, and just use comedy. Don't let comedy use you. No matter what venue you're doing or where you're at in this, and you do have to take some lumps and pay your dues early, but you don't have to completely sell out who you are and what it is that you want to get out of this and what you want to do.
Remember, we've all got a little dick inside of us.
Exactly. Or still outside. Either way.
Yeah, like whatever. In and around.
Like bunches of them. Like just all over. Just
right. Right. Just surrounded by NYPD detectives. That's what we're talking about. Just real quick, you have an angle on your keynotes on your program, and it is the how your hobbies, your passions influence and improve the way you perform at work and improve your relationships and so on. how does one, because when it comes to speaking, you need to have that central message that everything else revolves around.
Yeah.
Would you compare that to finding your voice as a comedian? And then how does finding your voice as a comic translate into putting together a message as a speaker?
That's a really great parallel that only people listening to this podcast will get from people that ask me those questions of, well, how do you find your message? And well, it's like finding your voice. Oh, you don't know, never mind. And so, it's not easy. You try different things. I mean, when I was new, I had the mic in the stand. My feet might have well been made of concrete blocks. Like I was not a performer. There's a performer and a writer, and the balance in the middle is the best. I was very much from the writing side and not at all from the performing side. And then the pendulum swung too far this way to the performing side, and I'm 6'3" and long, skinny arms. And it was almost like those.
You're 6'3"?
Yeah. So it's like those car sales, those used car lot things where if I'm like way performing and people are like, whoa, dude, like you're coming at me. And so, then you just kind of, all right, like gravity sort of run its course and you find your pendulum where your equilibrium of where it should be. And it's very similar to when you go to the corporate world, like when you're a speaker, like they're not hiring you for the funny. The funny's like the whipped cream and cherry on top. Like that's awesome. Like, but we ordered cake, so we need cake. And then there's an ROI to why they're having this meeting, and the return on the investment. If they're going to give you a couple $1,000 or 10, then you need to be good, and you need to have them thinking differently and working differently and behaving differently afterwards, or at least like thinking about it differently. And you can't just go up and be funny, and the motivational stuff doesn't work anymore. You can't just go up and rah, here's an acronym of how to approach your day, because no one cares.
Yeah.
And so it's really got to be like, and for me personally, it's got to be my story. Like it's got to be something that I've done. But it's not like I climbed a mountain and you can climb the mountain too. No, I'm not. Like I do not need an oxygen mask to work in my cubicle. Like I do not need that. Like that is not how this works. And so for me, it was very much like, and it just was my story, and of having a guy remember me 12 years after I left that corporate office in St. Louis. I'm speaking at this conference and he's like, I know John Garrett. That's the guy who did Comedy at Night. And this was a guy who I never even met or worked with. Like I don't know Mark at all. And so, so for me, it just happened to come out that way, but like really mine your life and look at things that you've gone through and things that you've done. And, look at what companies are hiring for speakers. Or is it change management? Is it leadership? Is it something that you can tap into your story and your background to bring some of that? I mean, a lot of it's going to be research done by other people that you then, begin to get, but then the funny's always in there, and for me, it just works out perfectly because my and was stand up. And also this message hurts people because I'm telling you that your degree and those certifications and all that stuff that you think is your identity is not. Your identity is so many other dimensions to who you are as a person. And that hurts people because they've spent the last decades putting all the eggs in that basket. So wrapping it in funny is almost necessary. So it was an accidental perfect storm, I guess, of why it came out that way. But you can certainly, find there's plenty of other ways to do that, but it does take time and you have to be patient, and it's exactly like finding your voice. And you don't know until you cross the line, and then you're like, okay, well, that's where the line is. I didn't know. And then over here, that's where that line is. And then eventually you've built your sandbox that you can go play in, and then it's fantastic. But it's scary to know where the boundary, to find out where the boundaries are. But yeah, it's exactly like finding your voice, and it takes probably just as long.
Yeah.
Like, that 5 to 7 year type of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm coming up on my 7th year speaking. So and last year I would say I figured out like what the core of who I am and what of my message is. Like I started, you know, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm going to help people be happy at work because happiness drives success, not the other way around. And it's like, yeah, but everybody has that message.
Right.
Like, so it was just a matter of narrowing it down and going through
and making
doing
it
characters.
Your story.
And exactly. So rather than bringing out these characters as examples, now most of my stories are about how those characters sucked. And like and the whole message is around, you know, like using humor, like being able to laugh at yourself.
Awesome. That's how we're gonna get Steve into corporate.
Yeah,
Steve, you just go up and just crap on all of David's like characters and then just
laughing.
You're telling your clients that this thing that they built themselves up as for years, like they introduce themselves like, hi, I'm Mark, CPA, and like, you know, and it's like, no, that's not who you are as a person.
I throw rocks at them hard.
Yeah. You got to wrap it in that candy coating.
Yeah, exactly. But had I not done so much stand-up, I would be scared of what's going to happen when I come at them a little bit. You know, it's not coming at them straight on, you know, like, but it's in like a 45-degree angle. So, you know, you're not just like, you know, looking for a fight, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that you just figure out over time. If it's something you want to do.
And you make another interesting point there too, is, you know, you might not be edgy, you know, your material might not be edgy or offensive, but the framing of what's edgy and offensive changes depending on your audience. So telling them like this, you have this uplifting message that no, you're not who you've been telling people you are. Like that comes as an attack. Like that comic was attacking me, or stand up and sit down. Like that, you know, he was attacking me. Like you have to be wary of those sensibilities.
Well, especially today. I mean, I can't even imagine going into a comedy club and doing a show today. Like, I mean, I just can't. Like, I mean, we're triggered at everything. I mean, literally everything. Like, I can't believe you're drinking that brand of water from stage. Like, I'm leaving. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's happened. You know, where you're like, I don't even know. Well, the COO went on a trip and shot a rhino, and what? I'm drinking water that the club gave me. Like, what are you talking about right now, lady? Like, why? And you know, it's just crazy. And so, so I mean, you know, you just got to stick to your guns and do your thing. And I mean, it's hard, and you got to do it for the love. And even in the corporate, you know, it's not easy. If anything, the high wire is now higher because they're giving you more money and they want a return on that. So, you know, you better be good, or they'll cancel you in advance. Like happened to David. No, but it's
I'll get canceled some way or another.
Yeah, exactly. No,
I guess I have been canceled, haven't I? I did it, you guys.
That means you made it, man.
Yeah,
that means you made it. Yeah, no, it's a crazy world that we live in now, and it's insane because we have so much more in common than we do not, and yet we don't focus on that stuff.
Right. 100%. 100%. And I think I was actually listening to an interview with Sarah Silverman on Andrew Yang's podcast, and that was like her message. She was like, because she had that show where she went around to like and visited people in different parts of the country and like asked them questions and like you know, and that's the thing is like you can connect with any audience. You just got to find that common ground. Like everybody wants similar things. Everybody has a family or likes sports or, you know, has eaten a burger or whatever. Like you just start there and then you can work outward. Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. And then it's what do you want to get out of it? And why are you doing comedy? And what do you want to have happen? I mean, because you're basically taking the audience on a ride. So what kind of ride do you want to take them on? You know, and then go do that, you know, and I guess just the business side of me, just, you know, having graduated from Notre Dame with a business degree and having worked in the business world, and, you know, at the time when I was doing comedy, starting out, I was very business oriented. And, you know, okay, well, if you have a product that you can sell for $100 or you have a product that you can sell for $3,000, why would you not make more of the $3,000 products? You know? And so I was very much just like, okay, well, I'll just do that. And then it just happened to align with who I was anyway. And, you know, the kind of comedy I was doing. So, you know, but if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And who cares, you know, like, and that's great.
Yeah, and that kind of applies to I mean, you're going to get different audiences. Like you said, perform in as many places as you can. Know where you want to go back to, who your people are. But it is good to get on stage and adapt your material. I mean, when we talk about Regan and Gaffigan, you watch them, you don't even think about that they're being clean, because that's how strong their writing is.
Yeah.
That's how strong their performing is.
Yeah.
So don't look at like being clean as like a negative
crutch. Like that's what I hate, is when someone introduces themselves as, well, I'm a clean comedian. Shut up. You're a comedian. Yeah. Like I don't care. Like I'm a church comedian. I'm a Christian comedian. I'm a what? No, you're a comedian. Like there's no labels here. Mm-hmm. Like you're just a comedian. Are you funny? Great. Go. Like you're up. And if you're not, then you're not. Then you're not a comedian. Like don't use clean or Christian or whatever as before comedian as a crutch to basically say I'm not a very good comedian.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what that label tells me, is you're hiding behind that. And no, just go be good. Like you're a comedian, just go do it. And yeah, sure. I mean, it is very hard, if not impossible, to follow somebody that's very, very dirty. It's just a psychological thing. Once someone in front of you goes very dirty, it takes a very strong comedian to get that audience back to not that. But otherwise, for the most part, I mean, comedians are plus or minus in the safe range. So, I mean, like, it's not so dirty where it's like, I don't even know what's going on right now. Like, you know, and that doesn't happen very often. So the next comedian comes up, new comedian, fresh start, here we go, and boom. And, it's just, if you're funny, then you're funny. You're a comedian. Like, quit using labels. Like, I hate that. I really do. I forgot about how much I hated that. Humorist, like, the worst.
Humorist, yeah. Like, what are you, Mark Twain?
Yeah. Like a humorist is going to make you, they're going to do like 2 hours and then you're going to smile like 4 times.
Yeah.
Like you might go, huh? Like once, but it's enjoyable. I'm smiling the whole time. Like I love this. But and that's why, like, when I started like National Speakers Association and stuff, and people are like, oh, so you're a humorist? I'm like, I'm going to throw up. Like, I'm going to throw up. Like legit. Like, no, I am not. Like, I have done too many shows and done too much to know, like, that's not happen. I'm a comedian, or like a corporate. I mean, whatever you want to call me, but I'm a comedian. Like, I'm funny.
Right.
So you get that. I mean, they're buying you, entertaining the audience, that they're having such a good time that they buy drinks. Because that's where the margin is. So,
some people spend too much time making the barrel and not enough time perfecting the wine. Sometimes that's like a thing too, but I think you need both. But the wine is very important.
Right. And it's hard because you're building the barrel as the wine's being poured in. So like, it's a little bit tricky, but that's a good analogy, Steve.
You're making all the wine. It's like, where am I going to put all this?
Right.
We're gonna put all this
who's going to eventually buy this wine? Because if it just sits in the barrel, then it just goes bad. And
you got to sell it. There's the business on top of just building some sort of infrastructure for you.
And it's wine. Like, I mean, like some wines $3 at Trader Joe's, and some wine is $500 at a nice restaurant. It's still the same. I mean, it's wine. So
and then you get a sommelier who comes in and is like, this is what I think of the wine, and I'm not,
And then you've got a lot of people who can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
This is an amazing parallel.
We'll just keep going.
Steve, I think you have a keynote now.
Yeah.
A keynote. Right. And then you can use my picture as like the $3 wine. You'd be like, for instance, some people are this, and then you have like, no, that's exactly it.
I smashed this with my own feet. Okay.
Right.
There's an old country recipe.
Right. But the Boone's, isn't Boone's Farm? Wasn't that the? Maybe that was just.
That's classy. Yeah, that's your $3.
Yeah.
And it also matters what soil it was grown in, and what elevation and the angle and the
limestone
weather that season. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into comedy.
I'm not a comedian. I'm a vintner. Okay.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Steve,
awesome.
Steve, do you have anything else you want to throw in? Any questions or added insights?
No, I don't.
All right.
I hate when you put me on the spot.
Listen,
you put me on the spot, and so I'm not ready, and I'm like, I don't know. Oh, time's ticking.
I love doing it. This is how we close every episode.
I barely listened.
Yeah.
John, any advice for a comic who is thinking of broadening their horizons and diving into the corporate game?
Yeah, well, I mean, my thing whenever people are like, do you have any advice, is just don't take advice that you don't agree with. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you, and be like, well, take it from who it's from. So, and if everything we've said tonight isn't for you, if you're, like Steve, where you're almost like cringing at all of these stories, then, just don't do it. It's not for you, but if you want to try it, you don't know if it's not for you unless you give it a go. Maybe not. If you're Steve, then for sure it's not for you. But like if it's everybody else, then just give it a go, and just be aware that corporate is different. It's totally different than comedy clubs, like we covered earlier. And just know it's different. Do a little bit of homework and understand that them kind of half laughing is you killing. So there's that. So and if it doesn't work, then call up David, and then you never heard of me. So like it's no, but give it a go, and just understand that it's different. It's totally different in how you approach it, how you do it, how they are. Like there's so many different dynamics. So just understand that it might take more than one to really have an understanding of what it's like.
Any plugs, where can we find you? Social media, are you active? Website, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter. I do a lot of corporate, so LinkedIn as well. I mean, I guess there's Facebook, but yeah, I mean, whatsyourand.com is where a lot of that happens. I do some music video parodies, so that's actually pretty funny. That's how I still exercise that creative, funny side as well. And that's also a good way to reach out to the corporates, so then they get a sense of my humor, as well as it's fun for them, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just appreciate coming on and being able to encourage people along their journey, and we're all in a different lane and doing it at different rates. So don't look side to side, like just run your race.
That's the best. Yeah. And it's so easy to get caught up in that. So always welcome advice for sure.
And if somebody's and so this used to happen, and this is when I realized, like, I'm running my race. Like somebody would be in Looney Bin in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm like, how the hell did he get? Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you can do all of them. That's fine. Like I'm okay with that. So if you see people doing things, like good for them. And celebrate that. Be like, hey, that's awesome. Kudos.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, they're doing their race and you're doing yours. And I feel like in comedy, especially, if there was more encouragement, more people lifting each other up, like I think you would all get better faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. There's enough for everybody.
Totally. I mean, there's enough. And now with the internet, especially, there's so many shows out there, and I mean, there's 4 or 5 late night TV shows. Like, there's Stephen Colbert, there's Fallon, there's Corden, there's
Seth Meyers,
Jimmy Kimmel.
And,
and Seth Meyers. And I mean, are you telling me that there's only one winner now?
Yeah.
I just counted off so many. I mean, Chelsea Handler used to have her show. Like, I mean, there's all that. So, there's a lot of winners, and then there's people that write for them, and there's, so it doesn't hurt to have friends that encourage each other, and even just encouraging other people. Like, don't be so negative about it. It's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough money to fight over. It's stupid.
Right.
And don't steal jokes. Don't steal jokes. Straight up.
Yeah,
don't steal jokes.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Just do not.
100%. No.
So,
Well, thank you for joining the podcast and helping us prove that, no matter how thrown out you feel by the stand-up comedy world, no matter how many church-going women in Florida you offend, you can laugh at that.
Exactly. Thanks, guys.
And you can laugh at this.
Nice.
That is Detective Dick Ransom.
I don't understand why you don't keep doing that.
You can't laugh at that.
Special thanks to Golden Ox Studio. You can find Golden Ox Studio for all your podcasting needs at goldenoxstudio.com. Hit up Jeremy. He is fantastic to work with, a professional. He makes podcasting easy. And if you've been kicking the tires on starting your own podcast, definitely give Golden Ox Studio a look. If you'd like to weigh in on today's topic, follow us on Twitter at YouCan'tLaughPod, or like us on Facebook at You Can't Laugh at That, and tell us how you did laugh at today's topic or how you didn't. This is all about the conversation, is what I'm saying. All right. Bye.